Have you ever noticed how some people over 60 seem to have steady energy, a strong heart, and healthy cholesterol readings, while others slowly struggle without even realizing what's changing inside their body? And the surprising part is this: it's not always about eating bad foods or living an unhealthy lifestyle. In fact, some of the foods many people believe are heart-friendly might be doing the opposite over time. They don't cause any immediate pain, and there are no clear warning signs at the beginning. But silently, day by day, cholesterol can start building up inside the blood vessels, making the heart work a little harder than before. And most people only realize it when things have already changed. So in today's video, we'll look at something very important: the foods that can truly support a healthy heart and help manage cholesterol after 60. And just as importantly, the everyday foods that may be quietly working against your heart without you knowing it. Stay with me until the end, because one of the most common foods you probably already eat could surprise you once you understand what it's really doing inside your body. Now let's begin, because after 60, heart health is not something you can afford to ignore. Not because something is suddenly wrong today, but because the real changes happen quietly over time, without you feeling them. Cholesterol doesn't appear overnight. It slowly builds up, layer by layer, inside your blood vessels, narrowing the path your blood flows through. And here's what makes it more concerning: most people don't feel anything at the beginning. No clear warning, no obvious signal. Until one day, things start to feel different. Walking feels a bit more tiring. Energy doesn't last like it used to. Or a routine checkup reveals something unexpected. But here is the important part. This is also the stage where your daily food choices still have real power. Because certain foods can help support better circulation, healthier arteries, and a more stable heart function over time. And others may quietly work in the opposite direction. So let's begin with the foods that can actually support your heart first. Heart health after 60 is something most people already know. Oats. They don't look special. They don't taste exciting. And because of that, many people underestimate them. But inside your body, something very interesting begins to happen. Oats contain a special type of soluble fiber. And when this fiber enters your digestive system, it can bind to cholesterol particles and help carry them out of the body naturally. Over time, this may support lower LDL cholesterol levels, the type often linked with heart strain. But here's the part most people don't realize. Oats don't just work on cholesterol. They also help slow down the sudden spikes and crashes in energy that many people feel during the day. So instead of feeling those sharp ups and downs, the body tends to feel more steady, more predictable, more stable. And for the heart, that matters more than it seems. Because after 60, it's not just about big changes. It's about reducing daily strain little by little, over time. And that's exactly where oats quietly help. But oats are only the first piece of the story. Because the next food doesn't just help with cholesterol. It works in a completely different way, by calming one of the hidden drivers of heart stress. And that brings us to something even more interesting. Fish. Point 2. Fatty fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel. Now this one often surprises people, because it doesn't work like fiber at all. It works through something completely different: healthy fat. Fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel contain powerful nutrients called omega-3 fatty acids. And unlike most fats people worry about, these fats actually support heart function. But here's where it gets interesting. Inside the body, omega-3s help calm inflammation in the blood vessels. And that matters more than most people realize. Because when inflammation stays high for years, the arteries slowly become less flexible, almost stiff. And when that happens, the heart has to push harder every single beat just to move blood through the body. But when inflammation is lower, blood flows more smoothly, more easily, with less resistance. And the difference is not just in numbers. Many people describe it as feeling less pressure in the body over time. There's something else most people don't connect to this. Omega-3s also help support a more stable heart rhythm. And with age, that stability becomes even more important than speed or strength. So this isn't just about lowering cholesterol. It's about reducing the daily workload on your heart in a very real way. But now comes something even more interesting. Because while fiber and healthy fats help inside the system, the next food works from a completely different angle, by supporting the blood vessels themselves in a very simple way. And most people completely overlook it. Avocado. Point 3. Nuts and olive oil healthy fat balance. Something as simple as a small handful of nuts, or even a spoon of olive oil each day, can quietly influence heart health after 60 more than most people realize. Because here's something important many people don't know. Not all fats behave the same inside the body. Some fats can slowly worsen cholesterol balance over time, but others actually help the body manage it more effectively. Nuts like almonds and walnuts and extra virgin olive oil contain what are called unsaturated fats. And inside the body, these fats don't just add calories. They help the body handle cholesterol in a more balanced way. But there's something even more important happening here. They also support the flexibility of blood vessels. And this matters because flexible arteries allow blood to move with less resistance. When blood flows more smoothly, the heart doesn't have to push as hard with every beat. And over time, that reduced pressure can make a real difference. Even a small daily habit, like a handful of nuts or switching from butter to olive oil, can quietly support the heart in the background without any effort. But now here's where things take a turn. Because while some foods are quietly helping your heart, others that look completely normal on the surface may slowly be doing the opposite. And that's what we need to look at next. Cut of meat. Point 1. Processed and fatty meats. Now we move to something many people don't expect. Because some of the most common foods in daily life can quietly put more pressure on the heart over time. Processed meats like sausages, bacon, and fatty cuts of meat are often more complex for the body to handle when eaten frequently. They contain higher levels of saturated fats, which over time may contribute to rising LDL cholesterol levels. But here's what most people miss. The real concern is not a single meal. It's what happens when these foods become part of a regular pattern. Because repeated intake can slowly influence how smoothly blood flows through the arteries. And this is not something you feel immediately. It builds quietly over time, without obvious warning signs. And after 60, this becomes even more important. Because the body naturally becomes less efficient at processing excess fats compared to earlier years. So the impact doesn't disappear. It can accumulate. But meat is only one part of the picture. Because there is something even more common, something used in everyday cooking, that many people never question. And that's where things get even more interesting. Point 2. Butter and full-fat dairy. Butter, cream, and full-fat dairy products are often part of everyday traditional meals. Comfort foods. Familiar foods. Foods many people have grown up with. And because they feel so normal, most people don't question them. But here's what's important to understand. These foods are also naturally higher in saturated fats. And when saturated fat intake becomes too frequent over time, it may contribute to higher LDL cholesterol levels, which can slowly increase pressure on the blood vessels. But here's something many people overlook. It's not about completely avoiding these foods. It's about how often they quietly appear in the daily diet. Because after 60, even small repeated habits start to matter more than big occasional choices. And over time, those small patterns can influence how the heart feels its workload. Not suddenly, but gradually. But what makes this even more interesting is this. There is one more category of everyday foods that surprises many people. Because they don't even feel unhealthy at all. And that's where things take a very unexpected turn. Bread. Point 3. Refined carbs and fried foods. Now let's talk about something almost everyone eats regularly. Foods like white bread, pastries, fried snacks, and processed carbohydrates are very common in daily life. Quick, convenient, comforting. But inside the body, they behave in a very different way. These foods can cause rapid spikes in blood sugar shortly after eating. And when this happens repeatedly over time, it may increase low-level inflammation inside the body. And here's why that matters. Inflammation is one of the hidden factors that can affect how smoothly blood moves through the arteries. When blood vessels become less flexible, circulation becomes less efficient, and the heart has to work a little harder than before. But here's the part most people don't notice. These foods don't feel harmful in the moment. In fact, they often feel completely normal, even satisfying. But the real effect is not immediate. It builds slowly, quietly over time. And that's what makes this category so important to understand. Because what feels like normal eating today can become something your body responds to differently years later. At this point, something becomes very clear. Heart health after 60 is not about being perfect every single day. It's about the direction your daily habits are moving in. Because it's rarely one big decision that shapes heart health. It's the small, repeated choices made quietly over time. Every meal becomes a small decision the body responds to, either supporting smoother circulation and less strain, or slowly adding pressure that builds in the background. But here's the encouraging part. This is not about strict diets or complicated rules. It's about awareness. Because once you understand how certain foods affect your body, even small changes in your daily routine can start to make a meaningful difference over time. And you don't need to change everything at once. You just need to start noticing what your body has been responding to all along. Before you leave, let me ask you something real. Which part of today's video made you think a little differently? Was it oats, fatty fish, nuts and olive oil, or even something from the foods to limit? Write it in the comments below. I genuinely read every single comment, and I want to know what stood out to you the most. And one more thing. If you're still here watching with me right now, type the word heart in the comments. Not just as a word, but as a reminder that you're taking your heart health seriously from this moment forward. Clapperboard 7, final CTA plus closing. So here's the simple truth to remember. A healthy heart after 60 is not built in a single day. And it's not protected by one perfect meal. It is shaped quietly through small daily choices. The foods you include, the patterns you repeat, and the awareness you carry with you every day. You don't need extreme diets or complicated rules. You only need small, consistent decisions that support your body over time. And even if today you only take one idea from this video, that small step already moves you in the right direction. Because improvement doesn't come from doing everything at once. It comes from starting with awareness. If you found this helpful, you can support the channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing, so I can bring you more simple, clear guidance for better health after 60. And most importantly, remember this. Your heart doesn't respond to perfection. It responds to how you treat it every single day. Take care of it, and it will quietly take care of you. See you in the next video.